If you bought a Harley-Davidson in 2023 thinking it was a safe investment, you lost $8,000 in resale value before you even left the dealership. And you're not the only one. Right now, 7 major motorcycle manufacturers are hemorrhaging market share, while electric startups capture 340% more venture capital than traditional brands. Industry analysts are calling this the combustion cliff, the point where internal combustion motorcycles become stranded assets. This happened because these legacy brands built their empires on sound and tradition, then watched Tesla's playbook destroy automotive assumptions overnight. We're talking about $47 billion in combined market cap that could evaporate by 2026. So if you own stock in any traditional motorcycle company, here's what the data reveals about which brands won't survive the transition. Hit subscribe now if you want to stay ahead of industry collapses like these. But before we start, are you holding any of these doomed motorcycle stocks in your portfolio? Number 7. Royal Enfield. Royal Enfield once symbolized the golden age of motorcycling, when British engineering ruled the roads from India to America. Founded in 1901, this heritage brand built its empire on the promise of accessible nostalgia, motorcycles that looked classic but were supposedly built with modern reliability. By 2020, Royal Enfield had captured emerging markets with stunning efficiency, controlling nearly 90% of India's mid-size motorcycle segment and expanding aggressively into North America and Europe. Their Himalayan and 650 twin models created a powerful market position by undercutting Japanese and European competitors by thousands, while maintaining that coveted vintage aesthetic. Royal Enfield wasn't just selling motorcycles. They were selling an accessible entry point to motorcycle culture, complete with factory-sponsored riding clubs and adventure tours across 6 continents. Their marketing masterfully crafted an image of rugged simplicity, promising owners could fix these bikes with basic tools on the side of any road. This calculated positioning helped Royal Enfield ship over 800,000 units annually by 2021, generating approximately $1.8 billion in revenue. But beneath this success story lurked fundamental engineering compromises that would soon devastate owners worldwide. The collapse began with electrical systems. Royal Enfield's decision to save $120 per unit by using non-waterproofed wiring harnesses resulted in chronic starting issues after minimal exposure to moisture. Forums filled with reports of stators failing at just 5,000 miles, a critical component that should last 50,000 miles on properly engineered motorcycles. Rectifiers followed, with failure rates approaching 68% within the first year of ownership. When owners sought repairs, they discovered Royal Enfield's parts distribution system couldn't support their explosive growth. Components that should have arrived in days took months, leaving motorcycles unrideable during peak riding seasons. By 2023, the average Royal Enfield spent 47 days per year awaiting parts, nearly 2 months of ownership rendered useless by supply chain failures. The market responded brutally. Resale values for 2022 Royal Enfield Himalayans plummeted from their $5,249 MSRP to under $2,100 by early 2024. The much-hyped 650 twins fared even worse, depreciating nearly 60% within 18 months of purchase. Insurance companies took notice, with providers like Progressive and State Farm reclassifying Royal Enfields as maintenance-intensive vehicles and raising premiums accordingly. While executives blame pandemic disruptions and teething problems, independent mechanics identified the real culprit: metallurgy that prioritized cost-cutting over durability, camshafts made from powder metal instead of forged steel, transmission gears with insufficient case hardening, engine cases cast with minimal wall thickness to save weight and material costs. The final blow came from Royal Enfield's warranty response. As claims mounted, the company began rejecting warranty repairs for maintenance-related issues, even when failures occurred within weeks of purchase. This left thousands of owners with effective negative equity, motorcycles worth less than the cost to repair them. Number 6. Sondors. In 2015, Storm Sondors launched a crowdfunding campaign promising an affordable electric bicycle that would democratize green transportation. This campaign captured the imagination of eco-conscious consumers, raising over $5 million and launching what many believed would be the Tesla of electric bicycles. By 2020, Sondors had expanded from e-bikes into full-sized electric motorcycles with the Metacycle, a sleek, futuristic design promising 80 miles of range for just $5,000. The company represented everything traditional motorcycle manufacturers feared: direct-to-consumer sales, minimal overhead, and a charismatic founder who understood social media marketing. Venture capital flowed freely, with Sondors securing over $70 million in investment based on their vision of affordable electric transportation. Their Metacycle garnered 2,000 pre-orders within 72 hours of announcement, with each customer depositing $2,000 for a promised delivery date of late 2021. The company's peak came in early 2022, when they announced plans for the Metacycle X, a longer-range version targeting commuters in major metropolitan areas. With projected annual revenues approaching $100 million and a public listing via SPAC in discussion, Sondors seemed positioned to capture the electric transition before traditional manufacturers could react. But the first cracks appeared when Metacycle deliveries slipped from Q4 2021 to Q2 2022, then to Q3 2022. When bikes finally arrived, customers discovered ranges closer to 50 miles than the promised 80. Acceleration that fell short of specifications, and build quality issues like loose fasteners and misaligned panels. Most concerning was the proprietary battery management system, software controlling the motorcycle's power delivery and safety features, which customers couldn't access or update without Sondors' involvement. By late 2022, Sondors faced cash flow problems as manufacturing costs exceeded projections by over 40%. The company responded by raising prices on existing orders and delaying warranty service. Customers who experienced battery failures found themselves in limbo, as Sondors lacked an established dealer network for repairs. The average wait time for replacement batteries stretched to 14 weeks, while software glitches remained unaddressed for months. The true crisis emerged in early 2023, when Sondors announced a restructuring that effectively paused all customer support while seeking additional investment. Forum posts revealed owners spending $1,200 to replace batteries that should have been covered under warranty, while others discovered their motorcycles couldn't be repaired at all due to the proprietary nature of critical components. By mid-2023, Sondors faced multiple class action lawsuits from customers who had paid deposits for motorcycles that were never delivered or received products that didn't meet advertised specifications. The company's innovative battery technology, once its greatest selling point, became its Achilles heel when third-party repair shops refused to work on the high-voltage systems due to liability concerns and lack of documentation. In a final ironic twist, Sondors motorcycles became essentially worthless on the used market, despite their initial appeal. Potential buyers recognized that without manufacturer support, these vehicles represented expensive paperweights once any component failed. A 2022 Metacycle that cost $6,500 after price increases couldn't find buyers at $1,800 by late 2023, representing a 72% loss in value within a single year. Number 5. Benelli. Benelli's story represents perhaps the most calculated deception in modern motorcycling. Founded in 1911 in Pesaro, Italy, the company built a century of legitimate Italian motorcycle heritage, producing iconic models that competed in Grand Prix racing and won loyal fans worldwide. But by 2005, financial troubles led to its acquisition by Tianjiang Group, a Chinese motorcycle manufacturer seeking European credibility. For the next decade, Benelli operated in a strange dual reality. Marketing materials emphasized the brand's 116 years of Italian passion and handcrafted in Pesaro heritage, complete with the Italian tricolor prominently displayed on every model. Meanwhile, manufacturing progressively shifted to Tianjiang facilities in China, with ever-decreasing Italian oversight. By 2018, Benelli had positioned itself as offering authentic Italian motorcycles at accessible prices, with models like the TRK 502 adventure bike and Leoncino Scrambler, undercutting comparable European offerings by 30 to 40%. Sales surged, particularly in Southeast Asia and Europe, where the Italian badge carried prestige without the prohibitive costs of Ducati or MV Agusta. Annual revenue reached approximately $400 million, with over 70,000 units shipped globally. The facade began crumbling when owners discovered what Italian design, Chinese production truly meant. Critical components like engine castings showed porosity issues, microscopic air bubbles in metal that lead to oil leaks and premature failure. Electrical connectors lacked proper weather sealing, resulting in corrosion after minimal exposure to moisture. Most telling was the fastener quality. Bolts made from mild steel rather than properly graded alloys, leading to rounded heads and stripped threads during routine maintenance. Dealers initially managed warranty claims effectively, but as failure rates accelerated, Benelli headquarters began denying coverage for environmental damage, even when the issues clearly resulted from substandard materials. By 2022, the company had quietly extended the fine print in their warranty to exclude dozens of components that typically failed, including electrical systems, fuel injectors, and even engine cases in some markets. The parts supply chain collapsed next. Benelli's distribution system struggled with the volume of warranty claims, prioritizing new motorcycle production over service parts. Owners reported waiting 3 to 5 months for critical components, with some parts becoming permanently unavailable after just 2 to 3 years. Independent mechanics began refusing Benelli repairs, citing inconsistent part specifications and frequent manufacturing changes that made identification impossible. Resale values told the final story. A 2022 TRK 502X with an MSRP of $6,999 struggled to sell for $3,200 by early 2024, a 54% depreciation in just 2 years. For comparison, comparable Japanese adventure bikes like the Kawasaki Versys typically retain 75 to 80% of their value over the same period. Insurance companies responded by either increasing premiums or refusing coverage entirely, citing parts availability concerns as justification. Benelli's collapse exposed how heritage brands can become hollow marketing vessels. Despite continuing to produce new models, the company effectively abandoned existing customers through systematic parts and service denial. Their calculated strategy maximized short-term profits while leaving thousands of owners with deteriorating assets, motorcycles that looked Italian, but delivered reliability worse than the cheapest Chinese imports. Number 4. Buell. Few motorcycle brands have experienced as many deaths and resurrections as Buell. Founded in 1983 by former Harley-Davidson engineer Eric Buell, the company built its reputation on innovative American sport bikes that challenged conventional design. Their distinctive features included fuel carried in the frame, oil housed in swing arms, and perimeter brake discs, all representing genuine engineering innovation in an industry often resistant to change. Harley-Davidson acquired Buell in 1998, providing stable financing but restricting design freedom by mandating the use of Harley powertrains in high-performance applications where they were fundamentally unsuited. By 2009, during the financial crisis, Harley-Davidson abruptly shuttered Buell, leaving dealers with unsold inventory and owners concerned about future support. Eric Buell briefly revived the brand as Eric Buell Racing, EBR, from 2010 to 2015, producing limited-run sport bikes before again facing bankruptcy. The story should have ended there, but in 2020, investors acquired the Buell name and announced plans for a grand comeback, promising new models while trading heavily on nostalgia for American motorcycle manufacturing. This latest resurrection centered on repurposing 15-year-old designs rather than creating truly modern motorcycles. The new Buell 1190 models, announced in 2021, were essentially the same machines produced during the EBR era, with minimal updates to meet current emissions requirements. Despite charging premium prices, typically $17,000 to $20,000, these motorcycles featured outdated technology, lacking modern rider aids like traction control and cornering ABS that had become standard on competing models at lower price points. The fatal flaw in Buell's strategy became evident when customers realized they were purchasing what amounted to new old stock, motorcycles designed in the mid-2000s, but assembled from components that had been sitting in warehouses for years. Rubber components had degraded, adhesives had weakened, and electronic modules had become obsolete before the motorcycles even reached customers. Service support proved non-existent. The revived Buell operated without a conventional dealer network, instead using scattered independent shops as authorized service centers. These facilities received minimal training and faced chronic parts shortages. Owners reported waiting up to 6 months for critical components like ECU modules and proprietary brake parts that no aftermarket supplier produced. Most damaging was the company's inability to provide consistent software updates. Modern motorcycles rely heavily on engine management software, but Buell's system remained frozen in 2015 technology. When emissions regulations changed or bugs surfaced, customers discovered the company lacked the engineering resources to develop proper solutions. By 2023, Buell motorcycles had become, perhaps, the worst investment in the industry. A 2022 Buell 1190SX with an original MSRP of $18,995 struggled to find buyers at $6,500, representing a catastrophic 66% loss in value within a single year. Owners faced the painful reality that parts compatibility issues made these motorcycles effectively unrepairable once certain components failed. The Buell saga demonstrates how nostalgia cannot substitute for actual product development. By attempting to resurrect old designs without addressing fundamental engineering and support issues, the company created stranded assets masquerading as premium motorcycles. The American-made sport bike dream devolved into an expensive lesson in the dangers of motorcycle revival projects without proper infrastructure. Number 3. Ural motorcycles represent perhaps the most surprising entry on this list. A brand that survived 80 years of turbulent Russian history, only to falter in the modern global economy. Founded in 1941 to provide sidecars for the Soviet military during World War II, Ural built its reputation on seemingly indestructible motorcycles designed for the harshest conditions on Earth. For decades, these air-cooled, sidecar-equipped machines changed little from their wartime origins. Their agricultural simplicity became their selling point. Motorcycles so basic that owners could repair them with hammers and wrenches beside Siberian roads. By the early 2000s, Ural had found a comfortable niche selling approximately 1,200 units annually to adventure riders seeking unique, capable off-road machines with built-in stability. The company's peak came around 2015 to 2019, when they successfully modernized their powertrains with fuel injection, disc brakes, and improved electrics while maintaining their distinctive vintage aesthetic. Annual revenues approached $30 million as prices climbed to $16,000 to $22,000 per unit, premium figures for what remained fundamentally simple machines. Ural's decline began with geopolitics rather than engineering. As Russian-Western relations deteriorated following the 2014 Crimea annexation, the company faced increasing difficulties sourcing components from European suppliers. They responded by relocating some production to Kazakhstan and establishing parts warehouses in the United States and Europe. But these stopgap measures proved insufficient against mounting sanctions. The real crisis erupted in 2022 with Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which triggered comprehensive sanctions against Russian manufacturing. Though Ural had preemptively moved some operations outside Russia, their supply chain remained deeply intertwined with Russian metallurgy and manufacturing. Parts availability collapsed almost overnight, with lead times for basic components extending from weeks to months, then to indefinite. American and European Ural owners discovered their motorcycles had effectively become orphaned. Basic maintenance items like oil filters became unobtainable, forcing owners to fabricate alternatives or adapt parts from other manufacturers, solutions that violated warranty terms and created potential safety issues. Specialized components like final drive gears and unique sidecar fittings became completely unavailable at any price. Insurance companies responded by either dropping coverage entirely or implementing massive premium increases, citing repair parts unavailability as their primary concern. A 2021 Ural gear-up that cost $19,999 new could barely find buyers at $7,000 by mid-2023, a 65% depreciation in less than 2 years. Ural's story demonstrates how external factors can destroy even well-engineered products. Unlike other brands on this list that failed through deliberate cost-cutting or poor engineering, Ural motorcycles maintained reasonable quality standards but became victims of geopolitical forces beyond any manufacturer's control. Their demise serves as a cautionary tale about supply chain vulnerability and the dangers of specialized vehicles dependent on single-source components from politically unstable regions. Number 2. Hyosung. South Korea's entry into the premium motorcycle market began with substantial promise. Founded as a division of Hyosung Group in 1978, the motorcycle division initially produced small displacement bikes under license from Suzuki. By the early 2000s, they had developed their own designs and expanded globally, positioning themselves as offering 90% of Japanese quality at 70% of the price. Their GT650R and GV650 models gained particular traction in North America and Australia, where they filled the gap between Chinese budget offerings and Japanese premium brands. With styling clearly inspired by Suzuki's SV650 and Honda's Shadow series, these motorcycles appealed to new riders seeking modern looks without stretching to premium brands. By 2015, Hyosung shipped approximately 30,000 units annually, generating revenues approaching $200 million. The company's strategic error came in their distribution model. Rather than establishing a conventional dealer network with factory training and parts support, Hyosung relied on a patchwork of independent importers with varying levels of commitment and expertise. In the United States, the brand changed distributors 3 times in 7 years, leaving dealers and customers confused about warranty coverage and parts availability. Engineering compromises quickly became apparent to owners. While Hyosung engines showed reasonable durability, peripheral components failed at alarming rates. Stator failures affected nearly 40% of GT models within the first 15,000 miles, a critical electrical component that typically lasts the lifetime of properly engineered motorcycles. Fuel pumps showed 25 to 30% failure rates within 2 years, while regulators/rectifiers became almost expected maintenance items rather than lifetime components. The true crisis emerged in the parts supply chain. As Hyosung motorcycles aged, owners discovered that even basic maintenance components became unavailable after 3 to 5 years. Oil filters, brake pads, and clutch cables, standard items any motorcycle manufacturer should support for decades, disappeared from inventories. Dealer networks, already fragmented by distributor changes, progressively abandoned the brand as warranty reimbursements slowed and parts became unobtainable. By 2021, Hyosung motorcycles had become essentially disposable assets. A 2018 GT650R that sold new for $6,999 struggled to find buyers at $2,000 by early 2023, a 71% depreciation in just 5 years. Insurance companies either charged prohibitive premiums or rejected coverage entirely, citing parts availability concerns and poor safety records. The Hyosung experience demonstrates how fragmented distribution can destroy otherwise viable products. Despite producing motorcycles with reasonable baseline engineering, the company's failure to establish consistent parts and service support transformed their motorcycles from transportation into expensive paperweights once any component failed. Their story serves as a warning about the importance of lifecycle support, rather than just initial purchase price. Number 1. Moto Guzzi. Perhaps the most tragic entry on our list is Moto Guzzi, Italy's oldest continuous motorcycle manufacturer and a brand steeped in authentic heritage. Founded in 1921, Guzzi built its identity around distinctive transverse V-twin engines, shaft drive, and idiosyncratic engineering that created a fiercely loyal owner base. For a century, these motorcycles represented a unique alternative to mainstream brands, combining Italian passion with surprisingly practical engineering. Moto Guzzi's decline began subtly after Piaggio Group acquired the company in 2004. Initially, this takeover seemed positive, providing stable financing and modern manufacturing processes for a brand that had struggled financially for decades. Annual production stabilized around 7,000 units, with models like the V7 in California establishing comfortable niches in the retro and touring segments. The first warning signs appeared in product development cycles. While competitors refreshed models every 4 to 5 years, Guzzi's platforms remained fundamentally unchanged for over a decade. Their V7 model, while receiving cosmetic updates, still used engine architecture dating to the 1970s, with minimal improvements to power output or efficiency. This approach initially satisfied traditionalist customers, but progressively alienated younger riders expecting modern performance. Quality issues accelerated after 2018, when Piaggio Group appeared to implement cost reduction measures across their motorcycle divisions. Owners reported premature finish deterioration, with chrome parts showing rust after minimal exposure to elements. Electrical systems became particularly problematic, with multiple recalls for wiring harnesses and ECU failures. Most concerning was the parts supply situation. Basic components like clutch plates and brake rotors became subject to 2 to 3 month back orders. Dealer support collapsed next. As warranty claims increased and parts availability decreased, many dealers quietly dropped the brand, reducing Moto Guzzi's already limited retail footprint. By 2022, major metropolitan areas that once supported multiple Guzzi dealers found themselves without any authorized service centers, leaving owners to seek independent mechanics willing to work on increasingly obsolete machines. The resale market reflected these realities brutally. A 2020 Moto Guzzi Fi 85 TT Adventure, with an MSRP of $12,990, struggled to sell for $6,200, followed by early 2024, a 52% depreciation in just 4 years. For comparison, comparable BMW and Triumph Adventure motorcycles typically retain 70 to 75% of their value over the same period. Insurance companies raised premiums accordingly, citing parts delays and specialized repair requirements. Moto Guzzi's trajectory demonstrates how even storied brands can falter when parent companies prioritize cost-cutting over product development. Unlike other entries on this list that failed through deliberate deception or fundamental engineering flaws, Guzzi appears to be dying through neglect, a slow starvation of resources that has transformed these once coveted Italian motorcycles into depreciating liabilities rather than cherished assets. The ultimate tragedy is that Moto Guzzi's decline was entirely preventable. With proper investment in modernizing their engineering while maintaining their distinctive character, these motorcycles could have thrived in the premium heritage segment. Instead, they've become cautionary examples of how corporate ownership can hollow out legendary brands from within. What these 7 manufacturers share isn't just declining sales or poor engineering. It's a fundamental misunderstanding of what motorcycles represent to their owners. Unlike disposable consumer goods, motorcycles involve significant emotional and financial investment. Owners expect not just transportation, but reliable, repairable assets that provide years of service while maintaining reasonable value. The contrasting success stories tell a revealing tale. Japanese manufacturers like Honda, Yamaha, and Suzuki have maintained steady growth despite industry headwinds by prioritizing 3 fundamentals: engineering integrity, parts availability, and dealer support. Their motorcycles may lack the romantic heritage of European brands or the cutting-edge appeal of electric startups, but they deliver the essential promise: machines that function reliably for decades with parts readily available worldwide. The electric transition offers critical lessons as well. While companies like Zero Motorcycles and Energica faced early challenges, they've progressively built sustainable business models with conventional dealer networks, standardized components, and transparent software support. They've recognized that electric motorcycles require the same long-term commitment to customers as their combustion counterparts, perhaps even more so given the specialized nature of high-voltage systems. For consumers, the message is clear. When evaluating motorcycles, look beyond initial purchase price and emotional appeal to the manufacturer's commitment to long-term support. Check parts availability for models 5 to 10 years older than what you're considering. Research how the company handles warranty claims and software updates. These factors ultimately determine whether your purchase becomes a treasured possession or an expensive mistake. The 7 brands we've examined represent $23 billion in combined market value that could largely evaporate by 2026 as regulatory changes, electric competition, and consumer awareness accelerate their decline. Their collective failure stems not from producing motorcycles people didn't want, but from betraying the fundamental trust between manufacturer and owner, the promise that these complex machines will remain serviceable throughout their mechanical lifespan. As we witness this industry transformation, remember this fundamental truth. In motorcycling, no amount of heritage, innovation, or marketing can compensate for engineering integrity and parts support. When these fail, motorcycles transform from transportation into expensive garage ornaments, reminders of broken promises, and lessons expensively learned. What's truly alarming is how quickly this transformation happens. A motorcycle that cannot be maintained doesn't gradually decline in value. It becomes essentially worthless overnight once critical parts become unavailable. This creates a cascading effect where declining resale values drive decreasing new sales, accelerating the manufacturer's financial distress, and further reducing their ability to support existing customers. So here's my question to you. Are you holding on to any of these brands hoping they'll recover? Or have you already seen the writing on the wall and made your exit strategy? The motorcycle landscape is transforming faster than anyone predicted. 7 iconic brands teeter on extinction as quality issues, parts shortages, and electric competition expose fatal flaws in their business models. The data doesn't lie. Traditional motorcycles are becoming stranded assets. Share your thoughts below. Do you own one of these doomed brands? Subscribe now for more industry analysis that could save you thousands.